Well, good evening, everyone. It's your host, Sergeant Friday, with your AS First News Network. We have a guest tonight, Dago, and we'll put a link in the stream so
good evening.
Other people can come up. And hang on, I got something yakking back at me here. I don't know what it is. Oh, maybe it was you, Dago. Come feeding back through your mic.
I fixed it.
Dago.
What's happening?
I had some funny comments in my video from yesterday. I don't know if you caught any of that video.
I did go back and check it out earlier a little bit.
Did you see? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. It was quite interesting. I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
it was typical of you. Yes, and it was good. It was good to see Jesse over here hanging out.
Yeah. And then that Delby came in. He's a trip.
Yeah, he's definitely different.
You know, but I think slowly but surely, some people are starting to understand the point of view that I'm bringing to the table on the Idaho 4 is significantly different than what all the other streamers are doing. I don't really give a fuck who did it.
I
really want to know why we accept people like Chief Fry and fucking Crack-a-Claws Thompson, enforcing our laws.
Good point.
You know, those people are our problems, and Idaho will never be completely safe until and this is all across the country. This is in the Delphi case. This is the Karen Reed case. It's a Gigolo case. It's the Koberger case, and cases we don't even know about.
Right.
Where law enforcement decides innocent or guilt. They're the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes,
and the case that they present to the public is all character assassination, fucking circumstantial nonsense.
I agree.
And those officials need to be called to the fucking mat.
Yes, sir.
How safe are those students in Idaho right now, in Moscow, with the same policeman in charge of their community? Yeah, they can write a DWI, but so can a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
They can respond to noise disturbances, but so can the paper boy.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. Yeah, that is fact.
The drug trade and whatever else of massive shit that goes on in our college campuses. Why aren't the best of the best there? Surround their children, right?
That's the truth of it, right? I said that probably 2 years ago. Like, they need to, and it's one of the only things that Steve Gonsalves has ever stated that I agreed with, that, you know, you send your child off to college and they come back in a box. That shouldn't ever be anything you should ever have to worry about. They should be, when they leave your home, you should feel just as protected there as you would here.
No, I did drop this thing there. Now, there was some other wackadoodle that came in here last night, and I've had some wackadoodles in my comments, and I think they're coming from police on the cuff, because I went after them. And people are saying, "Oh, you go after other streamers." But yeah, I do. I call a spade, whether people like it or not. Get the fuck out of here if you don't like it. You know me, right?
Absolutely.
And we had this
nothing but honesty.
Have you ever seen that person, Nick? Some girl that came in here was talking about condoms with jizz in it and fucking wallets on a bed and someone jumping out a window, and how that's all circumstantial evidence, yet you witnessed it all.
None of that is circumstantial. Yeah, that I saw that was what I said was definitely interesting.
I mean,
it was
wrong with these people. So you found, if you accept the most microscopic piece of evidence on earth is that proves Brian committed the crime, I can accept you accepting that.
Sure.
And I accept that all the other evidence of DNA is ignored by you. If that proves Brian's the doer, then all the other people's other DNA means that they were there doing it too.
Yeah.
Right? So in other words, if you're going to accept DNA as the only evidence you need, then you have to accept all the DNA at the scene, not just pick the one you like, because Mr. fucking jerk off policeman said it's this guy,
right,
who didn't test the other samples, right?
Very true. Very true.
I'm just besides myself at the ineptitude that floats around the fucking planet. It's a willful ignorance.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
It's willful ignorance, and people like Gray and Drunk Turkey and others prey on that. And even the people that are arguing about his innocence, They
Yep.
willful ignorance of others that expect you to conclude for them what to think. And they don't, most people don't realize that's what they're actually doing.
Right.
Right? It's like, are you conscious of how many times you've tied your shoe in the last week?
Uh-huh.
You don't give it a second thought, do you?
Nope.
No. I mean, these things that we do, they're repetitive actions and habits.
Yeah.
You really don't. How many times did you put your shoes on in the last week, Dago? Do you know?
These are the people that go running when you start singing it's peanut butter jelly time. Like it's party time because they don't have a clue as to what's going on in life.
But,
So
but it was on the knife sheet. Well, there was blood on the knife sheet too that they covered with fingerprint powder. I'm sorry, but doesn't the blood on the knife sheet speak volumes?
yeah, like I said, those are the same people that still, because I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty close to fully not feeling like his DNA was ever on that knife sheet. That's just where I'm at now.
I don't think it was either. And I think Brett Payne made a clear statement when he said he wasn't told that they found Brian Koberger's DNA. The FBI gave Brian Koberger's name as a person of interest.
That's right. That's where I'm at with it now too.
So
For
this
that
whole
reason.
Go ahead.
That just for that reason. That's why that and the fact that we know why they never sent the sheath out. So that and what you just said, those are the two reasons why I'm very comfortable in saying that I don't even believe that his DNA was ever on the sheath to begin with.
How about when they authored that case about the chiropractor? They literally authored a case convicting a guy and charging a guy of murder that he had no part of.
Right?
None. They created motive and everything.
That's right.
Oh. And yet, our problem is the police departments. Our problem are the prosecution departments and court systems. That's the big problem here in the Idaho 4. Now, you can't ever minimize the horrific deaths of these 4 young individuals.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You don't send Humpty Dumpty to go sit on a wall. We already know what's happened to the guy once. Leave him alone.
Right. That's right.
Moral of the story, don't put your eggs on a wall, okay?
No, you definitely don't want to do that. Especially not when you live in earthquake country.
Now, I do post in here a link for people to join. So if you're a different streamer, you got a different channel, and you're marginally, fair to middling, you're welcome to come on up in here.
As long as you're not into peanut butter jelly time, you're good to go. Come on up and join us. Let's hear your thoughts, feelings, and let's discuss.
See, eggs are too expensive to go on walls. So the gist of what I'm pointing out with Bethany Funk and the killings, the reason I've been running with that 417 was I was hoping people would connect that on their own.
Right.
That 417 and 419 will go hand in hand. And her actions at 419, people keep asking, why did Bethany contact Dylan? And I've been hoping people would place that series of events together and say, aha, that's the exculpatory evidence the defense is referring to. Something significant took place that prompted Bethany to contact Dylan.
Right.
It was what she heard, which is unique to her own experience that only she can testify to. You see?
That's
and so
true.
That's why I say without a doubt that the exculpatory evidence is in her hearing and her reactions to what she was hearing. And the proof of that is her contact to Dylan first. And that's the exculpatory data that Ann's going to drag out. And Ann has kind of danced around this bush by pointing out the dog barks for a half hour from 417 forward, by arguing their timeline is inaccurate.
Yeah.
Right? By making the statement that Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence that is unique to her experience and can only be testified to by her. And we've never heard from anybody what that is. But all of these little fucking, what do you call those? Are little clues that are leading you down some trail you're trying to figure out.
Right.
And I feel confident that I figured it out after these text messages were dropped on us and the timelines of factual timelines, the struggle, the whimper, the thud, and the dog starting to bark crazily, all connects even to Dylan's statement that she thought someone was playing with a dog.
Yep.
Dylan is all about 4 a.m. But Bethany's behavior begins earnestly, with the data we have, earnestly and unquestionably at 4:19 a.m.
Yes.
Immediately she gets involved. Why? And at 4:17 has to be why. She was alerted to something going on in that home that was enough for her to try to contact somebody.
Yep.
Dylan, most importantly, right? So
to start with, yeah.
And then as things are happening, she's asking Dylan, telling Dylan, come to my room, hurry, run.
Yep.
There's something happening at that house, and I think, and this is why this is the exculpatory Bethany. This is why it's so important. Is that the 420 car leaving the scene is not relevant anymore. No car is relevant, no path, no ping, nothing is relevant, because if the crime started at 4:17, all of these other ancillary observations that you've made and sold to the public are irrelevant.
Yep.
Completely irrelevant. That car could not possibly be involved in a crime that started at 4:17 a.m. And they zoomed away 3 minutes later, yet the dog kept barking for 30 minutes. Bethany and Dylan kept talking and running, and right?
Yep.
Obviously, the crime is in progress. So the car that they're saying they tracked cannot be connected to this crime.
I have to agree.
Can you imagine being Ann and knowing this for 2+ years and not being able to say it to the public or get the court to listen?
Yeah, I think that there's many things that she wants to scream and yell to the world, and she can't, because, she can't.
It's a gag order, and the gag order did everything but protect the defendant as it was designed to do. The state has taken advantage of the gag order and used it as a chance to destroy Brian Koberger.
And that's all it's done. It's done way more damage than helping. That's for sure.
And it's kept our eye off of them.
Yep. Well, not all of us. We've still been looking.
But we haven't been paying attention to specifically the officers, the FBI agents, the prosecutor, and them involved specifically.
Not very deeply. No, you're right. It's been talked about. It's been glanced at. We've not really dove into it and looked into it hardcore, but that's very true. That's one thing we haven't done. That's probably about the only thing we haven't done.
And here's the other question too that's unanswered. I'm confident that 417 and 419 is the pivot under which Ann is arguing that her client is innocent, provably so. Like, remember I said in the beginning, the police's investigation will prove exculpatory to Brian.
Yeah.
And this is a massive example of it.
Yes.
The question
I agree.
that remains is, how long did the crime continue, and how much of that continuation included the 8-hour pause before they called the police?
That's a good question. If it's, say, for instance, it did start at 4:17, how long did it go on? Because there was no time limit at that point. Definitely longer than 7 to 9 minutes, and they could have taken their time at that point, for all we know.
Well, Murphy was going crazy for 30 minutes or so.
At least,
from 4:17 forward.
Very true.
So did it end at 5 o'clock? Did it end at 4:45? We don't know. Did it end when Murphy stopped barking?
These are good questions. Very good questions.
And we won't know that until trial. And I think also the fact that there's a stay on the grand jury stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm pointing out here about Bethany and the timeline,
right,
may in fact be why there's some chaos with the grand jury. If this was kept from the grand jury, this could be a big problem for the prosecution.
Well, there was stuff that if I remember hearing this right, I do believe that No, that was in the other case. Sorry, I get them confused sometimes. That was within the Delphi case. But yeah, I don't believe they heard everything that we know. I'll put it out there. I don't think that the grand jury heard everything that we know at all. Granted, I'm sure they know some things we don't, but I think that there's enough stuff that's been put out, leaked out, whatever, that they didn't hear about back then. And I think that's probably a problem, Sarge, because we've been fed a lot and we've learned a lot. So you got to understand it's going to change somebody's mind knowing some of the stuff that we know. Just saying.
And it really tells a story about the people that are persecuting At this point, I'm going to say persecuting Kohlberger, whether he did it or not, because you shouldn't be able to persecute even if the alleged is the perpetrator. The system shouldn't allow this.
That's right. The Dateline episode is a total travesty. That should have never happened. Never.
And that nasty Steve Gonzalez, man.
Yeah.
That dude is just he's beyond disgusting. And how he's put himself out in the public and how he's defamed and destroyed Brian Kohlberger on data that was a lie. Yeah. Going all the way back to he connected to the Wi-Fi and they got software you guys don't even know about. And don't worry, they got this guy.
I was informed that no matter what happens, he's going down. Where are you now? Okay.
It's such a tragic series of events. And it happened to Scott Peterson case. He's a piece of shit because he cheated on his pregnant wife. Well,
yeah.
Okay. But does that mean he killed her?
No.
And now we find out that the prosecution withheld exculpatory documents from the defense. That case is being gone through again. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't. Wait, yeah, I did. I saw that there was an update on it not too long ago that they had started looking into it again. So, yeah, I did know that. That's probably good.
We can, but I don't disagree with your statement. But the ending, for fuck's sakes, doesn't really add up to the point you're making.
Can we all?
Yeah, we can agree that all the call logs have not been released. But there's nothing that was been stated in court or in any accusation that preempts 4:17 a.m. Nothing. The last piece of information we have is at 3:51. Dylan added a contact. That's not to say those phones weren't being used, but the only concrete evidence of something happening in that house is 4:17 a.m. And Bethany is the confirmation of that. So, what other call logs do you need? Now, if they show more conversations between these two in relation to something happening in that house as clearly as the 4:17 and 4:19 timeline, then we can say the crime started sooner. But the fact that the defense is stuck on that period of time, the fact that the dog only went crazy.
Right.
Okay. We don't know, but we do know what we do know, don't we, Cloth Rock? So for fuck's sakes, we do know what we do know. And making sense of what we know is fair fucking ground. It's better than trying to talk about a grub truck or a band field or a reflection or the fucking moon or Linda Lane or all that other happy horseshit these streamers love to engage with. We're dealing with data that's confirmable. Right? We don't know. But what we do know tells a story that we're going to discuss, whether you fucking like it or not, for fuck's sakes. Cloth rot. Okay? I don't know if you like apples, but how'd you like that one?
Yes, sir. I don't think that. I truly just my opinion only, of course, is I don't think that the call logs being totally released will have any bit of damn difference with anything. That's just my opinion, but I do respect your statement, Cloth Rod. Just saying.
The record is only partial, according to Ann Taylor. However, Ann Taylor's discussion about only partial. Also, we also know that Dylan stayed on her phone consistently until the cops got there, that she didn't go to sleep, as they've told us. There's a lot of things that we do know that aren't arguable, Cloth Rod.
I think we know enough at this point to be able to step back and say, well, okay. And I agree, that she should have all the texts and calls and all that. She should see it all. But we know enough to know that there was lies told. That's enough for me to step back and say, okay.
And why need there be lies? What is this frozen shock phase all about?
I don't know.
From 419 forward, there was no indication. There's nothing for the policeman to have ever said frozen shock phase. How they came forward with that is just shocking to me.
Yeah, that sounds like never sounded good. It always sounded like it was attached to a 4-year-old.
And they leave a big hole. Right? They made us believe that these two girls went to bed until 10:23 the next morning.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Now we know provably that that's a lie because the data you're pointing to, partial amounts of that have been released.
Right.
And now we know clearly that these two young women did not go to bed.
That's right.
Right. There was somebody in my comments that said there's evidence that that Bethany left the scene in her car or something. Right? I'd like to see where that information is because I've never heard that or seen
They've
that.
they've been talking about that. Tomboy brought that up too. That they asked Brett Payne about videotapes or video footage of that one hotel, and that he can't provide it. In turn, a lot of people think that her and Dylan both may have left the scene and gone to this hotel. So it is what it is. Who knows? It could be right, Sarge. I've seen so much other bullshit that.
Yeah, but there's nothing in there making that argument, and you're right. There could be unknown information, whether it be electronic or otherwise, that shows she left the property. I'm not discounting that, but until it shows up, I don't. I really don't see how it fits into what we're looking at here. And as far as there's stuff we don't know, there's always been stuff we don't know. But what we did not know, the prosecution was framing the context of what we didn't know. We're to believe that she went to the frozen shock phase and these two young women went to bed. And that's a fucking lie.
That's absolutely not true.
we now know from 4:19 a.m. forward, these two young women were in constant communication with each other and others.
Nonstop.
We never knew that for 2+ years. We didn't know that.
That's right.
Right. And so we do know a lot more. And whether they're showing us just what they want to show us or not want to show us isn't even relevant until they show us.
Right.
That doesn't mean discussing the facts that have been shown to be factual should be ignored or wait. There's no reason not to discuss them.
Right.
I think it's more solid ground than looking at pictures that Bubbly Waters blew up and is telling you there's a fucking UFO out there. Right?
Yeah.
Or the crime circus telling you that they parachuted in.
Yes, you're right.
Right?
Yep.
We don't know what else is there, and there's no sense to get stressed out about it because every time they add something, it continues to add to exculpatory evidence, but even worse, Cloth, every time they add something, it shows that the prosecution is a bunch of fucking liars. And it discounts everything that they've said. So far, they've even eliminated a car as being a part of this crime. This data about 417 and 419, as it stands, shows that the car they were tracking was a waste of fucking. You might as well attract butterflies at night.
Yes, sir.
Why did they go to these cameras and look for little green men instead of white cars? What the fuck are they looking for white cars for when they knew that something started happening at 417? Maybe what happened at 417 is the crime that took place in Zana's room. And the upstairs murders were already done. See, I don't know that to be true or false because you're right. There's still a hole in the timeline from 351 until 417.
Definitely.
There's a fucking hole in the timeline. And so because that hole exists, you have to take it for what it is, nothing.
Right.
And rather than try to guess to fill in the hole, pick your narrative up from what you can verify, which is 417 forward.
Right.
That means I could be wrong, completely fucking wrong, that the crime started at 417. But you can't other than suppose or guess or want to imagine I'm wrong because you have no evidence to show that I'm wrong. You see? But what else is not a reason to not understand what you have? I don't understand. When you get in a car, you don't know how to drive, but you're shown to stick the key in the ignition and turn it. What else? Well, once you turn the key and you start the car, right? You put your foot on the brake. Then you move the gear. You know what I mean? Everything is a process. So you can't stop trying to understand what information you do have because you're waiting for information you may never get or doesn't exist or rightly so could change your entire understanding of the information you already have.
Right.
It's just, to me, it's a logical process.
Very good point.
Some stuff are facts, but it's funny that every time we find something that's a fact, it actually counters the argument the prosecution and Steve Gonclaves have put to us.
They start running with their program again. Yes, that's very true.
We were told for 2 years there were 3 other DNA samples. Now we know that there's 3 DNA samples just under Maddie's fingernail.
7 of them. Yes, there's 7 of them in total, and they tested 2 or 3 of them to whether to find out they were male or female, and the other one. That's it. That's all they've done. Nothing else.
Right. The idea too. So we've been told also, that's another good point. Seahawks fan. We were told he had on some big dicky outfit that kept him from fucking picking up any of the contamination and taking it with him and protecting him from the victims.
Part of his kill
Yeah,
kit.
she's got 3 DNA samples under one nail. What about the other victims?
That's my point. What about the other fingernails, guys? There's 30 other fingernails in that house that need to be tested, and there's got to be something under at least one other set of them. At the very least, one other set. I would imagine that Xana would display all sorts of DNA. Why haven't we heard about that?
And every time we hear about something, it puts another big fucking hole in the prosecution's case against Brian.
Every time, yes. Every time.
Fucking time. Everything Steve Gonclaves told us had truth to it. Except it was a lie.
Yep.
In other words, when he told us these people focusing on the transfer DNA don't know they have no idea what they're talking about, because they'll see there's a lot of other DNA there. There was DNA on a sleeve.
Yep.
And he's right. But all of it is not related to Brian.
No. Not even close.
What else did he? He said a bunch of things. He said Hunter went into the house to force a door.
Everything he said started to come back to be, except for the date that it happened. He said it's come back has been a lie.
No, he's right about everything he said, except the context he frames it in.
The context is not true. Yes,
correct. So Hunter did go into that house. Now we know he went to go get a knife because his friends were passed out.
We were told, or his wife put out there, that Hunter went over there to open a door, to force a door open. Never mentioned anything about a knife. That had to come from.
Only to find out that Dylan saw fucking Xana on the floor through an open door.
Yep. Along with Emily and also Bethany and
we have
Hunter.
we have a little more than drips and drabs, and if you don't, I wonder if you don't see how the prosecution's case is crumbling before your eyes. Do you see that happening, Cloth Rot, or do you still think the opposite? Because
even better,
whether Kohlberger did it or not, the arguments that they made to suggest he did it are falling apart.
Even better with that, I said this earlier to some of my team, that the prosecution has crumbled the case themselves. They've broken down their own damn case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Explain that one, anybody, please. If I didn't know it better, I would think they didn't want to do it. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's a concern for the American people, that your prosecutions and your police departments operate in these ways.
Yeah, big time.
And it's that to the exclusion of all else, because they're on a level that you can't be because you're just a fucking citizen.
Yep.
That's what drives this systemic corruption. They're trained to see the world through that view. Don't question me. This kid did it. I know he did it. And then when you try to make sense of their proof, it's like trying to explain a fucking rocket engine to a 4-year-old.
You're just supposed to do what they say and trust us. Just let it be what it is and trust them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's 4 dead young individuals that are unquestionably deceased through some type of violent act that they're trying to lay at the feet of an individual who may have had something to do with it, if not did it all. But the arguments that they're making to place this guy at the scene of the crime are empty, and they're lies.
Right.
Omissions through omission. And then whatever they're feeding the father of one of the victims,
yes,
is interpreting himself or giving information with the context that it proves Brian's guilt. And he's just too stupid to realize that it exonerates Brian.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So he went with the connection to the Wi-Fi. Oh, remember when the guilters? Oh, Brian's phone connected to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. That's because that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that you should be able to listen to a family member of a victim and believe every word that comes out of their mouth. Obviously, that has proven to not be the truth.
Why is it that there isn't a video that clearly shows Brian Kohlberger behind the wheel of his car?
I don't know. We've been told that there is, but I sure as hell don't believe it.
And at this point, if they had it, I still don't think it has anything to do with the crime, because the timeline is established by the data released, means the car had nothing to do with it.
Right. And if they had it, here's something to think about, folks. If they had something like that, Ann Taylor would have, long time ago, Ann Taylor would have approached that with a document or a motion at some point. Okay. She hasn't mentioned one word about it. So I'm telling you, because she has to know if they have something like that, they don't have it. So please don't be banking on that, because I don't want to see you disappointed when the trial starts and they have nothing like that. Okay. because they
They
won't.
can't have secret information that they can drop on the public or
No.
they can bring into that trial. They have to have the same standard of evidentiary production as Anne has for an alternative suspect.
Absolutely.
I don't know that people understand how the law really works. A lot of people seem to be very confused, or they're very angry at Hitler for him saying that Dylan is a credible witness. And she is. To her own personal experiences, she's credible.
Yeah.
He's telling you something that you're taking out of context the definition of what he's saying, folks. He is not saying that Dylan Morrison is credible and can identify Brian Kohlberger without any ambiguity or any question. That's absolutely not what he's saying. He's simply saying that she's credible to testify to her experience and knowledge of the event that evening. Okay, and under what context will it be framed? Well, it will be framed under the context that she's understandably drunk, okay, unsure, right, could have been dreaming. The jury will hear all of that, folks. She's not going to get put up on the witness stand. And yeah, it was Brian for sure. Yep, I remember his nose. I remember his face. I remember his hair.
No, the opposite of that, actually.
She was there, folks. She was there. Therefore, her experience and her ability to define her experience verbally to a jury makes what she tells you credible to her own experiences.
And everything else aside, she's already stated she has no idea who he is.
She's not going to get up on the stand and be asked by Ann Taylor, were you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs? She's not going to say, nope, not at all. Straight as an arrow.
Yeah, she's already.
And that's going to be allowed. I mean, come on.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think if you guys read the information we do have on Dylan's testimony or her interviews and realize that she's going to testify to that information, those interviews, and not a single bit of that even comes close to identifying Kohlberger. As a matter of fact, when faced with images of him, she could not identify him and really thought a nose like that, it would have jumped. If he'd have had, it would have jumped off the page.
Yep.
If that was the guy, that nose would have been what she would have remembered, and she didn't.
Not even remotely.
Right. Yeah, I don't, this is what I mean. We argue about innocent or guilt, and I can't stress enough, the guy could be one or the other isn't relevant. What's relevant are the charges laid at the feet of the accused sufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And is the data being supplied by the defense sufficient to provide reasonable doubt?
Right.
Right. And where is Ann Taylor lied?
Not even nowhere that I've seen. Who said she lied?
Where has Ann Taylor's arguments ever been contradicted?
They haven't. Nothing she has put out there has ever been contradicted that I've seen.
There's no connection between my client and the victims, be it electronically or otherwise. There is no DNA to be found in his car, his apartment, his place of work, in his home in Pennsylvania, nor any way to explain that.
Nor is there any sort of connection to the victims from Brian Kohlberger whatsoever. Period.
Electronically or otherwise.
No way. Period.
I'm pretty much quoting almost verbatim what she had put down in those motions.
Those
and
were
none
their
of
words.
that has ever been contradicted.
And when they asked the prosecution the same question, they said the same thing.
Right.
The prosecution.
Payne. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the state themselves said they do not have a connection from Brian Kohlberger to the victims of the crime. And then, like Sergeant's getting ready to say, with Officer Payne, go ahead.
When asked if any of the video or images that they've put in discovery identifies Brian's car or Brian Kohlberger specifically, he said no.
Nope.
So why are we even talking about a car?
Right.
Because of Linda Lane. That's why, folks.
Yeah.
Because somebody, Steve or somebody else connected to the prosecution, wanted to cause the shit show and keep everybody from looking at the truth. This guy may have done it, but these guys have compiled the worst bit of fucking data to prove it.
Yep. And the prosecution, that's the other thing, Sergeant. They don't have any weight of whatsoever. If they're willing to throw out the sheath, If they're willing to stand in front of the whole court and say that the PCA is irrelevant, that's coming from the state, not the defense.
Right.
What does that say? Like, what do they have then? What do you have if you're willing to toss all that? That tells me nothing.
But yet they're relying on pieces of it for the majority of their accusations against Brian.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. And that is the problem, not whether he did it or not. It's the accusations and the way the case has been handled, the way they've made it public, the way they've executed this guy in the eyes of the public. The Salem witch trials against Brian Kohlberger, none of the arguments that they have hold any water or show any way, shape, or form without doubt that Brian Kohlberger was at that home during the night of the crimes.
Right.
Or any night thereof before or after the crime.
Was the worst. It's the worst smear campaign I've ever seen in any case in my life. Truly. With zero proof.
It's absolutely beyond incredible that the justice system is working this way. Fingernail proof clothing, cheese and rice. I don't know what that means, Susan. I think it's probably supposed to be a funny. And where did the person go that I asked? You're making all of these arguments. You don't have all the data. You don't have all the data. Well, where did you go? The data we do have is all contradictory to the accusations against Brian Kohlberger. You sound like that young woman that was in here last night telling me a story about circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is not evidence that was witnessed by somebody. You don't witness someone jumping out a window and running. You don't witness your girl naked in bed with a condom and your best friend's walling in that bed. That's not circumstantial evidence. That's direct evidence.
That's direct visual proof. Yes, right.
Circumstantial evidence is that your friend was seen on the corner and he was caught on a ring camera.
Hearsay.
That's circumstantial evidence placing him in the area, but not in the bedroom with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
So circumstantial evidence is evidence that presents circumstances that in their totality allow you to make a conclusion. It's like walking up a set of stairs. This takes you to this step, to this step, to this step, and the person's dead.
Because it's
like I've said a million times. My fingerprints on my gun in a home where someone was shot and killed with that gun is circumstantial evidence. Unless you can place me in that home doing that crime, that gun itself is not enough to convict me.
That's right.
You have to show the circumstances to which you could place me in the home. And if I can show you that I was in Huawei Park, right?
Yep.
And someone else used my gun, and it could not be there. I'm not saying you won't arrest me. I'm not saying I'm not your best suspect. But if you want to prosecute me, you have to place the gun in my hand, and at the moment it was discharged to take the life of another person, I was in the one holding and pointing the gun.
Oh, you took cloth and rot the wrong way, Sarge. They said my presumption is innocence, period, based on the current available evidence. I could never convict this guy, saying that there's not enough out there, and then we haven't even seen it all. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but here's the thing is I don't see him as innocent either. Just because their case is so full of holes doesn't mean Brian Kohlberger's innocent. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean and their argument that he did it doesn't hold water because it's so full of holes. But there again, it doesn't suggest that he did not do anything. That's why I'm saying he's innocent until proven guilty, and it could go either way. I don't know. And I just don't want to say that the kid's innocent simply because of what you're pointing out, Cloth Rot, that there's a lot we don't know. Could some of that turn out to be direct evidence that Brian did it? Could some of maybe? And I'm willing to hear that. I'm willing to accept direct evidence that places Brian in that house.
But I truly don't believe we will, Sarge. Because I don't believe they have that. In my heart of hearts, because I'm going to tell you at this juncture, this is June, folks. It's June 12th. We have 2 months until this case hits the board. Okay. If there was any kind of real, factual, physical proof, anything whatsoever that proves that kid was inside that house, we would have seen something and would have.
No, I agree with Cloth Rot. Is it Cloth Rot? I don't know if I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Cloth Rot.
And then B&H said, I've always said driving on the night is for no reason. I don't see that to be suspicious at all. This is America.
That's what I said. I used to do that all the time because I couldn't sleep, and I would get up, roll down my window.
I still do it. I don't do it because I can't sleep.
Right.
I do it because I have I have a kind of car you want to drive it. You want to get out and drive, you know?
Yes, you like to go show off. We know. I get it. I know. It happens.
Yeah, spin tires, race people, beat them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But here, it's all in fun. It's my
No,
hobby,
and everything. Listen, here's the other side of that too. The pathetic side to it. They've tried everything, and I mean everything they can do, because they don't, in my opinion, of course, this is my opinion. They have tried everything they possibly can because, again, more time, in my opinion, they have nothing of physical proof to prove that he was there. So they've done everything else they can do with the propaganda train, these smear campaigns that have started from the moment the man was
the interpretation of the evidence is one of the major things they've done.
Right. And there's nothing. That's how hard
the evidence they collected. That you were better off wiping your ass with fucking dry leaves.
Yeah.
They spent all of that manpower chasing around a hypothetical suspect, vehicle 1. And based on what we do have, and Ann's own talk to the court about the timeline, starting at 4:17 a.m., that means that all of that time and effort was a fucking waste. Here's the other thing, too. This is why I say I think that there's room that Brian dropped somebody off there, and maybe he heard the screams too and then got the fuck out of there.
That's possible, yeah.
That could explain transfer DNA on the button snap. I'm not saying it happened, but I'm open to that argument being put forward by the state, but I don't think they ever will. This is why I say I'll never really understand or know unless they can show direct evidence of who the perpetrator or perpetrators are. And because they're never probably going to do that, I'll just take it as an unsolved case.
Bingo. That's what it's going to be. Because I promise you that if they do not prove, because it's the way it's supposed to be, if the prosecution has no way of proving that Brian Kohberger was in that house to commit that crime, it's done. It's over. That's done. And they're not going to go after anybody else, because who else do they have?
Right. Well, Ann apparently has alternative suspects.
And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Very, very curiously.
We all are. We're like on the edge of our seats.
Yes, I think about it.
I
every
agree,
night.
Claw, throughout the cases, but was it designed to be unsolved? I don't really think it's designed to be unsolved, because the amount of time and effort they've invested by getting all of these conspiracy theories and lies about the accused put out in the public purview. I don't think that their intent was ever for it to go unsolved. Their intent is to absolutely convict Brian Christopher Kohberger of this crime. To the exclusion of all else. Whether he did it or not, they don't give a fuck.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and I don't think driving at night is a suspicious thing, especially when the guy's done it, and they tell you right in the PCA he's done it 12 other times.
Many.
And then you got all these people that decide guilt is the answer, and that means that he stalked them. Even when the prosecutor jumps up and down in court and loses his mind and says there's no stalking, the defense knows there was never any stalking. That question shouldn't be in the witness questionnaire.
That's right.
But yes, it should be, you fat Santa Claus crack smoking piece of shit. Right? You're the one that insinuated he was stalking when you put that in your documents.
That's true.
Right?
Very true. Very true.
Some is the sheath they say is his, but we might have purchased from a different. Yeah, brass is the most common metal used in those button snaps, Kara. Stainless steel is also used, but brass is the most commonly used metal for those,
that type.
What people don't know, yeah. Guys, they're rivets. I know people see a rivet in a certain way, but that button and that snap are literally rivets that are made to join together in that fashion. They are literally rivets that are driven into that leather. So you know what a rivet is, right, Dago?
Absolutely, I do.
You know, you ever use a rivet gun?
I own one. So yes.
Yeah. So my point is that button and that snap are a fabricated rivet that allows them to, that are made in that style. That's a rivet, believe it or not.
It's pressed.
That's riveted on there.
Yes, it just as much as any other thing is on there. And on that sheath itself, they're all along the sides to hold it together as well. But that's riveted into that, period.
And is that stainless or brass?
This one here is stainless.
See, that's what I mean. So there is how about the snap itself?
Same.
Yeah. So you can have either stainless or brass. And that's going to be the real devastating point, is if that's brass, because brass is made out of zinc and copper. There's no way DNA can survive on that ever.
Which is that's why they covered it with fingerprint powder. So
Right?
you could never test it again.
They did find blood on the sheath itself. So hold up that sheath again, Dago.
Yeah. Hold on.
And
Like
let's
said,
go over this
bit
because
different.
I got into my rant last night. So that part of the sheath, they found blood, I believe, on the back of the sheath. Now show us the belt loop.
Here.
Show us the belt loop. Okay, spread it open. They swabbed the inside of that sheath. That's the inside area of the belt loop that they swabbed. Remember the 3 locations?
Yes.
So belt loop, and when they said inside of the sheath, they left out the word belt loop, but that's what they meant. They also swabbed the sheath.
There, yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking that they meant inside the blade area, which seemed weird, but okay. Yeah. But there were the 3 locations that they swabbed. The sheath, inside the sheath, and the button snap.
That's right there. Like I said, this is not a K-bar, but it's still a sheath. It's the same thing.
Alicia, anything in contact with brass in laboratory testing,
that's
4
brass.
hours. 4 hours, and the DNA sample was no longer discernible. So you're wrong. The snap would have had the DNA based on the police's argument for 8 hours, based on the technicians showing up 5 more hours, which now brings you to 13 hours. And then it had to be brought to the lab, and then it had to be processed. So you've got about, okay. Yeah, after 4 hours, the brass destroys the DNA.
And just so everybody knows, that, which I'm sure most of you do, that's brass. That's gold-looking color, that's brass. Okay, that's what that snap would be made out of if it was. This is stainless. And I looked them both up. I looked them up online. The K-bars.
Sorry,
they come
Alicia.
Say that again.
I was apologizing to Alicia. I thought she was saying that.
Oh, no, it's
no. So I apologize, Alicia.
But I looked it up, and they come in both. They can come with both. It depends on which one they have. And sometimes there's stainless coated in brass too. That's a possible too. So, hey, Mikey, good to see you, buddy. So we don't know. We
don't know because they've never told us, and Ann has never made a point to make the distinction.
As of yet,
that may indicate it's a stainless steel snap, to which DNA will survive for quite some time on stainless steel.
Yeah, I think it's days.
Yeah, definitely. So if it's a stainless steel snap, that whole considerations, it's nice to know.
It is. It's important. I think it's very important
for true crimers to know that, right?
Those are the things we look for. That's a fact.
The bevel of the K-bar is like 1.5 inches, and it's not like a hammer. Yeah. There was someone running around saying that they used a knife and popped somebody in the head.
Oh, that's Jeff H. He's been stuck on that for 35 years.
I know I'm saying that they didn't do that, but there's no evidence for that. Right?
They very well could have, but I don't believe it would have done the damage that was described. I don't think you had time to do something like that, first off. But it could have done all of those things, but I don't think that's even close to an issue at this point.
I don't know what to think of that, other than potentially that she was more conscious and more alert, right, than Dylan.
Yeah.
And it may be that she had conclusions of something terrible happened and she just didn't want any part of it. It may be that she left the property. I mean, I don't make anything of it until more information comes.
Right.
It is something to keep and pay attention to for the timeline. The timeline is crucial in looking at any scenario of events where you've got crime or political things, or that timeline tells you a series of events that happened in an order that can't be disputed, especially when they're recorded electronically.
Right? That's right. Evening, Joanne.
There is a blade guard on that knife. Show that blade guard.
Yeah, there's a hilt on it. Like I said, this is a different knife than what the K-bar is, but they all have this hilt right here.
Right.
Okay. So you'll have that. I just cut the hell out of my hand by doing that because I'm stupid. And the other one, I believe, has a circular handle. This is a bone handle, so it's different. But that's still, and that's another thing too. we saw Brian's hands the next day, at least one of them. The other one was holding the phone. If that man would have stabbed somebody that hard,
that many
54
times,
this part of his hand, at least one of them would have been black and blue, folks. I'm just telling you. That's an opinion. Okay. I can't, but that's still a very strong opinion.
I think somebody needs to get a pig carcass and go crazy on a pig carcass to show people what actually happens in the real world when you're swinging a weapon, a bladed weapon, and you're striking it into a human being where there's bone, and the deflection of the blade, how the cuts can become distorted. It will not be a clean incision because you're not trying to do surgery here. You're trying to kill. And when your blade does come in contact with the bone, it will deflect it. That'll also cause the momentum of your hand will no longer carry the straight line that you're throwing it at. Right. And as the knife twists, your hand still wants to go straight. And that's where that item on the blade, what did you call that?
The hilt.
Your hand, the hilt?
The hilt, yeah.
But your hand can oftentimes go beyond that.
Right.
The amount of strikes that were to understand happened here could have been close to 100. All right. And if that's accurate, to swing that knife with deadly force 100 times and not leave any indication that you did it, I don't even know, man, how you could do that, especially if the victims weren't tied down or restrained in some way, right?
Yes. And even if they wore gloves or say electrician's gloves or something like that, that still would have left bruising. And BH only if you're my roommate, so just saying.
And the blood would act like a lubricant that would make everything slippery.
And
a leather glove would respond to that. Your hand would slide off that hilt. And
the hilt that's on those knives is a lot smaller than the one I just showed you. They're not, and it's not a strong knife either, folks. It's one of the weaker knives out of a lot of them, truly. The blade does not last through everything. It's not, it's only a 7-inch. Well, I don't know. Some idiot in your chat. It's only, sorry.
The butthole.
Yeah, butthole, the BH. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it's
anyway,
Betty.
Yes. My apologies, everyone. But in my opinion, it's a smaller bladed knife. Okay. And to do the damage that was done, if I remember right, Mabbitt did say it came from a very large bladed knife. Just saying. It sounds more like a machete to me, but
like the one that or Dylan was going to use on that watermelon.
Yes. Or whoever that was, yeah. But yes, very, very true.
Yeah, that is a very strange knife to go into a quadruple homicide with in and of itself. But even stranger, like I was saying in the very beginning, when you have a belt loop knife, you don't carry the knife in the sheath. You don't go into, I don't give a fuck who did this. It's just, I honestly, for whatever, something tells me that knife that was used upstairs where that sheath was found was taken from those girls, that knife belonged to Kaylee or Maddie.
It could have been there for their own protection, and then it was pulled out to protect themselves, and it was taken from them.
Correct.
That's very possible. That's a very, very interesting theory.
That beating her in the face may have been the moment where they were able to disarm her and use that knife on her.
Bingo.
Right now, we don't know, and I'm guessing here, honestly, folks, that this is just
especially considering that it was in between the two of them. That's something smart to me. Yeah, and it's just a theory, folks. That's all it is.
You have to accept the thought that the person went in there with the intent to kill. That's a fair thing to accept because we've got 4 dead bodies, right?
Well, yeah, that or somebody went in there. Multiple people went in there because that's what I believe.
Right.
And it was a confrontation, a shakedown, something in that sense that went way too far. Somebody in the house could have been trying to protect themselves, and they were taken down with their own weapon.
Do me a favor, Dago. Take your knife and put it in the sheath and hold it up to the camera. Okay. You don't enter a crime scene with that weapon in this image.
No.
You enter now. Here's what you would do. There's only 2 options for you when you have this kind of a bladed weapon, and your intent is to do harm. One is the sheath remains at home base or in the car if you use the vehicle. That would be the most efficient thing to do. Is you wouldn't take it with you, or you would use the belt loop. Right. And you literally can't pull that belt loop. I don't care how strong you are. You would pick Dago up off the floor before that belt loop, whatever. It wouldn't give way. You literally could pick him off the floor if that was attached to his belt. His pants would break. The belt loops on your pants would break.
That's exactly what would happen.
Before the belt or belt loop there would, yeah.
Yeah, I tried this. Two of us, me and my son tried to pull separate on this. It didn't move, guys.
No,
that's not
you're
coming apart.
And so the demonstration I'm trying to show here is it's nonsensical to tell me that somebody went into that home with that knife that way, carrying it in the sheath, and then pulled and bared the knife and kept the sheath in another hand or set the sheath down. It makes no sense whatsoever.
No, because you need this hand to control the situation.
Yeah.
That's not no means whatsoever is that even remotely intelligent. This is a way bigger knife, by the way.
Yeah, it's just nonsensical that someone going into a home that they don't have access to or a key to, and they've got to come in through one of the doors that may or may not be unlocked, wouldn't approach the property with that knife already out in fight mode, not in a sheath.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to encounter going through that door at the first moment.
Bro, you don't carry a gun and like hold that back up again. Imagine if there was a 32 stub nose revolver in a holster. Would you take the gun without the holster, or would you place the holster where it belongs and keep the gun where it belongs? This knife is the equivalent of a gun holster. This whole setup is equivalent to a gun with a handgun with a holster, and you can't make it make sense that they discovered this knife sheath between the two victims, because the scenario that would require that to be true isn't logical or even sensible for even an idiot.
Right.
They would have known when they got to the sliding glass door that they had the sheath and knife in one unit, and that they should have left the sheath behind, or they should have stuck it in their belt, and they probably would have dispensed of it outside the property.
Yeah.
Because you would not want to go through that door unarmed. Dago is currently unarmed. As Dago is right now, I could punch him in the face as hard as could be and take him out. He couldn't hurt me with that knife. He's completely defenseless in this situation here. So that's why
Mikey said you might as well tie your shoelaces together before you walk through that door if you're going to do something like that. It's the same damn thing.
Yeah, this is even worse. You're going into that home defenseless, and yet you've got the weapon, a mighty weapon of defense, in your possession, and you're going to put it in it. That's like putting the bullets of that 32 revolver in your pocket and going into a crime scene with your bullets in your pocket.
If you go in like this,
now you're ready to rob a house. You're ready to cause harm. You're ready to break in. You're ready to force a lock.
Absolutely.
You're willing and ready to do harm because you're armed for it. You don't go in, hold it up again. The police want you to believe they went in with it in the sheath. This is what the police are telling you happened. That's how the perpetrator entered that fucking property. That is just nonsensical and stupid.
No, and I've never seen anybody walk around carrying a knife like this. Anybody that I know, myself included, if I'm going anywhere and this goes with me, it's attached to my belt, period.
Let me just say something here. Where did that comment go? I want to pull a comment up. Okay. But let's be clear, butthole. You have no intelligence, and there's nothing we could do to overestimate your ignorance because it's on display constantly wherever you go. So, I don't know who you think you are telling other people what they're doing. Okay? Because I mean, your mother's one shame in life is you. The one embarrassment of your parents is you. And here you are now fucking with people that we'd rather you not even be around here. Right? So get out of here.
Everybody's got to have some kind of attention.
Eject yourself willingly so I don't just have to go in here and block you.
Everybody wants attention in their life.
I think I'll just ban and delete user. Because I got the power. Isn't there a song?
Yes, there is, by Snap.
Jesus Christ.
It is what it is.
That's what I was people in my comments that say, you attack other streamers. You goddamn right I do. I don't care if you like it or not. Okay? Don't listen. And that's what I said to one person. I said, the one regret your mother has is you. And I'm in agreement with her. Yeah. Wouldn't it be a kick in the balls if Brian Alt-Perp is actually the one that did it and he solved the case from jail? That would be fucking badass.
That'd be a kick in the balls for sure. Yes. Good Lord.
Earn his
Talk about-
criminology degree. He should then be the person being the people able to be policemen in that town. Brian should be in charge of law enforcement. And fucking
Should be the fire. He should be the police chief at that point. Agreed.
right. Walking tall. That would be Brian Kohlberger.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's almost to the point where that has to happen, or poor Brian's going to have a life of misery.
Oh,
And that's
even
the
if it does, listen, Sarge, even if it does happen, there's still many people out there that will say he's guilty, even if they prove
most
it.
of them are fucking look at their gutless fucking wonders, and they wouldn't bring harm to Brian. The only harm they cause is when they fucking incorrectly cut one of their fingernails or something.
Right.
These people couldn't harm themselves, for fuck's sake. So there's a lot of these people that think they're fucking so smart out here, and they're harmless fucking, like they're just harmless people.
The ones that kill me are the ones that have a degree and then claim that they have a degree.
Right.
That's dangerous. You gotta love
I was
it.
in a conversation with one of my clients, and it wandered off into all kinds of different topics.
Right.
And the wife looked at me and she says, "Why aren't you a professor at one of our colleges?" I was like, I said, "Life didn't open the doors for that."
He'd last 24 hours.
But we live in a world where knowledge is free. It literally is. There isn't anything that you can conceive of that you might want to know about that you can't obtain through using the access of the internet.
Yes, sir.
You have access to every bit of man's knowledge.
What the hell? What is wrong with you guys? There's 144 people in here and 71 likes. What the hell? Come on now, guys.
Apparently, of the 4 bad comments I got, I'm not well liked.
Let's go with that. Come on now.
Okay.
Hit that like button. Hit the like button. Forget about it.
Forget about it. Tell him, cuz.
It's a Fugazi.
Hey, Stu Gotts.
Stu Gotts. That's it. Jesus, I sound like my uncle now.
Manga, what are you doing?
Manja.
Oh, yeah. What the hell? Yeah, I had me a nice T-bone today, Dago.
I'm sure you did.
Man, was that fucking thing great. Just pink on the inside. I like the tenderloin. I think I'm going to switch over to pure tenderloins.
I do the strips. I like the strips. That's what my wife and I love, the New York strips.
Oh.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't mind the teas or the porterhouses, but they're all expensive.
Yeah, they are expensive. But they're the top part of the fucking
nowadays. And I never understood. I guess I'm greedy. What are them little ones
for
called?
A family like you guys? Just realize too, I'm one person taking care of myself, and so
right.
You got how many kids, and your wife and you got what, 4 or 5 people in the house to feed?
We got, well, me and my wife, my son, well, 3 that I care about, but yeah. I'm just kidding. I love my mother-in-law. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, so we usually get 4 to 5 of them. That's it.
Yeah, so you got a bunch of people to feed. Where I'm fortunate, I got myself, and when I was married, it was myself, my wife, and my daughter.
Yep.
So it's not, and we both have careers that earn decent incomes, and
I'll tell you, well, one thing I'll never understand are the fillets. They're a nice piece. They're a nice juicy meat, hunk of meat, but there's not enough. It's just not enough. It tastes that good. You want to have more than 4 bites.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I've never understood.
That's why I go T-bone or porterhouse, and they're easy to grill. They're easy to cook on the stove. They're easy to broil.
You can't really mess them up, right?
You can't. I mean, if you forget them for 5 minutes too much, you're going. It's not burnt all the way through. I mean, you really got to be a complete blind man to fuck up that kind of a steak, that cut of beef.
Yeah, and the ribeyes are good too. I'll give you guys that. Yes.
I had a ribeye last week. I wanted to bring it back to the person I bought it from and make them eat it. It was the most twisted up, fuck up piece of meat I'd ever had. Literally.
Like
ribeye is a good cut. Ribeye is a decent cut.
It should be, yeah.
You know what I used to eat, and I still will if I can find them. But I used to eat chuck steak.
Oh, I don't mind chuck steak.
And they're a little they're not quite as tender as the other cuts of meat, but they are definitely marbled with fat. They have a good flavor. And you can tenderize the shit out of them.
I was gonna say you can beat them till they're tender enough, right?
Then I also get like 2.5 or 3 pound chuck roasts, and I slow cook them fuckers.
Yep.
And that shit is just badass, man.
I used to when I had 7 kids in my house and everybody wanted steak, I used to get those roasts and I would slice them into steaks, and same thing, beat the hell out of it and cook it up on the grill. It tastes the same to me. It's good. So yeah,
I mean, New York strip is good for eggs and steak.
Yeah, and at least it's right. If you marinate it right and tenderize it, you can make any piece of meat taste good. Period.
Yeah, you can. But I go to this place called Wild Fork, and I order my meat from there. And they were doing $11.98 a pound for T-bone, and that's a good deal. Now they're more than that, but
of course, I want to try. I've never had it. One of them. I call them dinosaur steaks. Them big ass. What the hell's that thing called?
I've never had one. Yeah, get the name. I'll check it out.
There's a name. It's not called that. I call it that, but it's a big old. Looks like a giant T-bone. It's got a really long handle off the end of it. It's about that big around. I can't think of what the hell it's called. They're monster. Tomahawk. Thank you, Love Tina. Yeah, the tomahawks. That's a big old thing. Big old. It's probably about that thick.
Tomahawk steak.
Yeah, it's big. Big.
Let me look it up here.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah. $79. Let's see, Walmart tomahawk ribeye. It's a ribeye.
Basically, but
bone-in choice Angus beef per tray.
Yes.
Never
had one. Always wanted to try one.
Let me think here. So the Grumpy Butcher's got them. What cut is it? A tomahawk is a bone-in ribeye specifically cut from ribs 6 to 12 of the beef rib. And the key characteristics is its long French trim bone, which is left intact to resemble the shape of a tomahawk.
Bingo. That's why it's called that.
The eye of the ribeye cap, and complexious muscles. So,
and I've heard that centerpiece of meat is like super tender and very thick. So.
Here's an important piece of data. It tastes the same as a ribeye steak. It is a ribeye steak. So
ribeye,
it's not worth.
It's just really big.
But you can get a really big, and cut it into multiple steaks.
Oh, in fact, where we have a shop and save here who the butcher is like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. We know them by their name now, and they'll cut you whatever the hell you want. You go in and grab a roast out of the thing and say, cut this up for me. He'll do it for you. He doesn't care. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
or you just buy it, take it home and do it yourself.
I prefer the porterhouse over the ribeye. And the T-bone over the ribeye personally.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all good cuts of meat, no matter how you look at it. It's not, beef and steaks. Strip steak.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite way to cook it? Grill or stove or broiler?
Well, I like the broiler, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The grilling is good, but grilling takes much more attention than broiling it, and I like to simplify everything that I do in life.
Sure.
So I'm guilty of being lazy. So
I'll be honest. I like broiling. I like grilling, but one of the best I've ever had was a porterhouse done in a cast iron skillet on top of the stove, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Very good. It's the pan. It was the cast iron skillet. Is that what made it?
I did go. Oh man, listen. My buddy owns a deli and they make fantastic Italian sausage. So I buy their mild sausage, and I went down there the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked in there. I go, "You got mild sausage?" She goes, "Right there." I got to take the whole pan. Put them in packs of 6, please. Take because they're a little ways away, and I don't get over there often. So I ended up with 24 sausages.
Yes, I could. See, for you, that'll last what? A couple weeks,
months. Yeah, because I make my sauce. I make spaghetti sauce with the sausage and the ground beef in it.
Yep.
And I cook it through there. And I don't know. Have you ever put hard boiled eggs and hard boiled them in your sauce?
No, that's new to me.
Yeah. You take your eggs, put them in the sausage. You got it on the stove all day, right? And it hard boils the egg.
Yeah.
And then I'm telling you, that egg yolk and sauce is to die for. You can't even imagine.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. You hard boil your eggs while you're making sauce. You put them right in the sauce.
Never heard of that. That's interesting.
You can actually use the sauce and the egg, and you can eat that independently of anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I do the slow sauce. I cook it all day, start in the morning, but I've never done that. That's interesting. I'll do the bay leaf, or I'll do the sausage and the ground beef, because I don't do plain marinara. I've never liked that. It's got to be some texture to it, or I'm just not comfortable with it. I really like it with the sausage in it. But yeah, that's the way to do it. Slow cook it all day long.
Yeah, now I want to go make me a sausage, man.
And I don't even do it. I don't do it the old school. Like back when I was younger and I had the patience and the time, I would boil down the tomatoes and all that fun stuff. And now I buy the tomatoes are already chopped up in a can, and stewed tomatoes or whatever the hell, and let them cook.
Buy the puree, tomato puree, and
it's easier to do it that way.
And squeeze your own tomatoes. But you know what I do is I take a ragu sauce and I modify the hell out of it.
That's what we do too. It's easier, quicker, and it just.
Yeah,
I usually I'll go to the store and grab whatever's on sale, because it's all sauce, and then I always add a good handful or two of grated Parmesan to the sauce automatically.
I'm gonna get that picture of my daughter. My daughter, when she was little, I cooked. Well, I'm back cooking now again. For a long time I didn't. I ordered out all the time, but I cooked this huge pan of lasagna, and we invented at I used to go all kinds of places when we went to, I think, Best Buy or Big Lots, and they had this 4-foot tall doll, right?
Yeah.
And she just fell in love with this 4-foot tall doll. So I got a picture of the doll at the dinner table.
Okay.
With a little plate of lasagna in front of it, right?
That's awesome.
I got lasagna.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So instead of a tea party, we had a lasagna party. It was kind of funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I love making lasagna too. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's another. I like mine too. I put pepperoni in mine.
Yeah, I've never done that.
It's good. It's good. Lots of cheese and pepperoni, and I use 3 different cheeses when I make it. It's expensive. It really is, but it's worth it.
Yeah, you get many deals. It's not just a one shot deal. So
no,
I got
another good old chicken cutlet. And Jesus, I'm making myself hungry. Damn.
Oh, shit. I forgot. Man, Dawn just sent me a message. I was supposed to go hook up with Dawn. But, yeah, I've just worked on the car, worked on the yard, ate, and then forgot all about it until just now I saw the text message. And, yeah. But, oh, well.
It was a good day to be outside today, though.
Yeah, it was a good day to miss a date. She'll live.
Yeah.
What the?
There's always another time.
Yeah, well, I'm aloof that way. What the fuck?
Absolutely. What's your favorite? What's your favorite kind of pasta, Sarge?
I like number 9 spaghetti. The other stuff, the only time I'll eat elbows is in mac salad.
Yeah.
But if you make mac salad and don't put hard-boiled eggs in it, I'm not eating fucking pasta.
You have to. You have to. You
can't buy it in the store like that. It's like that's the missing ingredient.
It's just the mayonnaise and the noodle. Yeah, it's gross.
Chopped onions, chopped green peppers,
celery.
And where's the egg, man? Chopped up. Where's the egg? Where's the hard-boiled egg?
Yeah, you can't make it without egg.
That's not mac salad. That's macaroni and mayonnaise, right? Noodles, and that's just to me a disgrace. And then the best thing about mac salad is after it's in the refrigerator for 24 hours, it tastes the best.
I like to throw a can of tuna in it after a while too.
Yeah, you could do that. Yep, that's tuna salad.
Yep,
yeah,
very
I
good.
like that myself too. I gotta buy some elbow macaroni and make it up. They got at a local store. They got the mixes that are they're all pre-mixed in a bag, all pre-chopped.
We just had some of that tonight. My wife made coleslaw. With that, I can't think of that. What the hell's that? It comes in that jar. It's the pre-mixed shit, whatever. I can't remember think of the name of it. It's a specific brand, but yeah, she uses that. And she chops up the cabbage and the carrots and all that, and boom.
Yeah,
mac salad. Mac salad's not bad. Potato salad's my favorite. My wife makes the best potato salad in the United States. I swear to God, but I like them both.
Yeah, I'm not a big person for coleslaw. I've never found that appealing anyway.
Oh, I like it. Marzetti's, that's it. Thank you. Nothing half-assed. That's what she used. They make all sorts of dressings to make different types of salads. So my favorite noodle, by the way, is linguine. That's my absolute favorite.
Hmm.
I don't like fettuccine because it's too big, and I don't like regular spaghetti because I don't know. The linguine is just perfect because you can mix it with red sauce, white sauce, Alfredo sauce, and it goes with everything.
I like the spaghetti itself more so than anything else, unless it's lasagna, or if the other type. But like I ordered 9 1-pound boxes of spaghetti, and they sent me that. It's not a what the fuck is it, man? It's not a rigatoni. It's a
patchouli.
Nah, I don't know what it is, but they're round and long.
Penne.
Yeah. And
I eat a lot of that.
That's not what I ordered. I don't want this. They said, well, we can't accept returns on food, so just keep it. So I ended up with like 6 pounds of that shit. What am I going to do with that? I'm thinking, can I make mac salad with it? And I'm thinking I probably can.
Yeah, you can.
But I want to cut the noodles in half.
You can break them. Well, yeah, you could do that.
No, you got to wait till they're boiled and then cut them, right?
Just cut them. Yeah, I do a lot of. I like
panini. That I was like, how the fuck does number 9 spaghetti turn into panini? Like, how do you not read that order correctly? And how do you not notice you're putting panini in a box where it should be a foot long piece of fucking spaghetti? I don't know. It's like, okay.
I usually, actually, when I make ziti, I substitute the panini or penne, whatever you call it, instead of the ziti. I like that instead. So,
yeah, I've eaten it. I'll mix it with my meat sauce that I make. So I'm eating through it, but it's like Jesus.
I'd rather have that than the rigatones. I don't like the big rigatones. I'd never like those.
I think rigatonis are good. I don't mind those. Or the ones they put meat in them and they close it. They're in a shell-like thing. What do you call them?
Oh, I love those. Cavatelli, yes.
No, I don't know.
Cavatelli the rigatones are like a big, thick, wide open noodle. Cavatellis are like they're swirled up and there's like pork.
No, it ain't that at all. They look like it's like stuff. There's something in a sausage in the middle and the edges are all pinched like pie crust.
Oh, raviolis?
That's it.
The ravioli.
It depends on what's in them. You
can do the pork. You can do cheese, ricotta.
I like Italian sausage in them.
Italian sausage. That's a good one too.
Yeah. So we turned into a cooking show, folks.
It is what it is. When you get 2 Dagos on the channel, what are you going to do?
Thou shall not murder, right?
That's it.
I keep forgetting. I got to contact Rory. Find out what his fucking malfunction turned out to be. Yeah.
Yep.
What did you cover in your stream today? Anything?
A little bit of everything. I did that morning show. I covered a little Nova Scotia kids. Just I tried to cover some other stuff, but it ended up being a bunch of bullshit, so I didn't run it. But yeah, it was just a little bit.
Do they know for sure that those kids aren't on the reservation with the mother?
Not yet, and it's never been pointed out yet. But I'm sure they're looking.
That is also probably one of the most obvious things that happened.
That's one of my biggest.
The mother picked up the kids, and then, yeah.
I always one of my theories was that her mother.
Were you supposed to be fasting?
No.
I never said I was fasting. I don't know. They mentioned it in the chat. Wait, isn't someone in here who said they were fasting?
I'm not fasting. I'm slowing.
No, I'm back to what I don't know. I feel like I'm getting younger as I get older. I can eat all I want. I still never go over 160 pounds.
That's a good thing. That's
awesome,
a good thing.
Right.
Definitely a good thing. I
like chicken thighs.
Yes.
I take chicken thighs and I broil them in the oven. Then I make my stovetop chicken stuffing. And then I cut up, I think obviously I cut up all the chicken thighs and then I just stir it into the stovetop stuffing.
That sounds good because they're very tender. Those chicken thighs are good for chicken cacciatore too. That's another good one.
Yeah, and there's a mixture of dark and light meat in there, and the breasts are just too dry for me. I don't like the dryness of a breast.
Yeah, the thighs are probably the most tenderest piece of the chicken I've ever had.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Right.
Thighs. I like when thighs are on my ears. There's also that.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. I tried to stay away from it.
You had no idea. You're as surprised as everybody in the chat room.
Sure, you're right. You got me. I'm surprised. Speaking of surprised, I'll be right back.
I'm what they call a character. Yeah, I do go off in all different ways, and that's just the way I am. And there's nothing that I'm afraid to talk about, personal or otherwise, or, Cooking. It's the first time we really got that much into cooking and stuff. But yeah. I don't mind cars. We talk about cars, planes, construction, remodeling, kitchens, whatever, man. Breakfast tacos with hash brown. Now, I'm not a big taco guy. They're saying the trial is supposed to happen in August, but we'll have to see what's going on. I think there's a hearing on the 18th or the 21st. I mean, it's already June 12th. I mean, that's sad when you think about it, folks. It's already June 12th. And I live up in the Northeast. It should still be March, April, May. My weather is consistent with May. Oh, June 18th. Thanks there, SRB. Serby. Is it June 18th? Is it public or is it closed? Not a taco guy. What is wrong with tacos? There's nothing wrong with tacos. I'm not judging tacos. To be very honest with you, the soft tacos don't appeal to me. And the hard tacos are just too much of a fucking mess, man. I ain't got time for that. I want to sit down and enjoy my meal and not bite into something that could fly across the room. Yeah. I'm just not really big on the taco. I don't think I've ever been I've been in a Taco Bell, but I've never maybe I've eaten a taco from there when I was a kid. But not since then. I'm just not big on that. You know, for whatever reason. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know, man. If I'm going to eat beef and stuff, I want to eat it the American traditional way. Like, I mean, I am a red-blooded American. I bleed red, white, and blue. And that's the kind of food that I'm attracted to. I'm big on American stuff, man. I love this country, the people in it, even though 6.2 billion of the people worldwide are fucked up, including the percentage of them that are here. But I mean, in principle, I think, you know, I'm an American. Man.
That's it.
I don't eat Polish sausage. I don't eat that sauerkraut. You know, those are traditional German foods and Polish foods, and I don't eat the traditional English stuff. I'm an American, man. That's why I'd have a problem traveling overseas. I'd be like, bro, you ain't got me a grilled burger. I got to find a place that does. I'm out of here.
Grilled PB
and Italy, they wouldn't like me in Italy. They wouldn't like my choices in food. France, I'm not eating frogs and crickets and all of that shit. What are you, out of your fucking mind? Get a job, man. Eat some real food. Go get yourself a cow. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to eat lamb and sheep and no.
I don't mind the lamb. I'll do a
it's too chewy, man. It's like having bubblegum.
It depends on how you make it. I don't mind it like gyros and stuff. I'll do that. I like gyros.
Yeah, say I'm chicken, turkey, beef, pork, ham, bacon, and that, you know, frog is good. It tastes like chicken. Then eat the chicken. Frogs are good, Sarge. Yeah, I'm sure they are.
The legs are. I don't know about the rest of them, but the legs aren't bad.
I'm not eating a frog. Man, let that bitch hop around. I don't, you know, I would eat frog and all these other things if we had a society that broke. I'd eat bugs. I would eat all that. I'd eat your dog. You know, circumstances as they are, there's no requirement for it to have to wander off into that shit.
You may have if you've ever eaten in certain Asian food. You never know.
I'd eat alligators. I don't mind Asian food, but I stick with the chicken and what do I eat? I eat chicken with broccoli with hold the broccoli. Literally, they deliver that to me.
Oh yeah, you just want the chicken, that sauce. The sauce is good.
And I asked for $4 extra chicken, then a quart of chicken fried rice. Yeah. And there's 2 dinners right there. It cost me $15 a dinner. And then you get full enough that after you burp, right? You're ready to eat. Now you're hungry again.
Yeah, that's stuff you got to eat that twice because it doesn't fill you up forever.
That's why I order the extra chicken, because now you know the chicken doesn't. But I've tried the chicken with pork, and it doesn't do anything for me.
But the turkey gyros, that's another one. Arby's makes turkey gyros. Those ones are amazing. If you ain't never had that, you should try that once.
Yeah, it tastes like a fishy piece of chicken. Yeah, I wouldn't be down with that, bro. Unless like I'm saying, I don't think anything is off the table to be eaten. I'm just an American guy that likes the American cuisine.
You like fish?
Right. Yeah, haddock. The fish fries. I've never had a swordfish or anything like that.
I've had all that. I eat anything, any seafood you can imagine. I've had. I love
I've never had a lobster. I don't eat things where their skeleton is on the outside.
I get it.
That means you're eating something that's part of the cockroach family.
You don't like bugs. I understand. We've had that conversation before. I remember.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. I don't want your skeleton outside. I'm sorry. If now, again, like I said, I would eat all of this if I had no choice to eat the American food I choose to eat. But
sure.
as long as I got the choice, I'm not a Red Lobster kind of guy.
I get it.
I've never even tasted lobster or crab or I did taste those things in the shell that you slurp. And I was puke. I couldn't. Just having that in my mouth was too much. It was like no.
I think if you like, here's the thing: if you like steak, and I know you do, you probably would like. Okay, you've had shrimp, right? Do you like shrimp?
Yeah, I don't mind shrimp.
Okay, you probably like lobster. It's way better, and maybe crab.
I might. I don't think I wouldn't, but I just prefer not to.
Escargot, I cannot stand. I can't even look at it. I can't do that one.
The intestines, right?
No, escargot is snails. I can't handle that.
Oh, snails. What's the intestines the Italians eat?
I've never had them, but you talking about chitlins
or the stomach? No, there's something they call it.
Oh no,
rubbery.
Yeah. No, I don't eat any of that shit. No, green. I'll eat the greens and peppers and shit. There's a meat in there too. I can't think of it right now. Oh, calamari and greens. I love that.
Yeah, I've never tasted a calamari. I leave the baby octopus alone. You know what I'm saying? Poor
squid, octopus, tripe. I've tried it once. I won't.
Tripe, I don't eat tripe. Nope.
You can keep your tongue to yourself.
Choke on small things, do you?
I've had cow's brains before. That's like eating scrambled eggs. So just eat scrambled eggs.
Yeah, I like eggs over easy and scrambled. But isn't the scrambled egg fried chicken in the end?
That's always my thought. Scrambled and fried chicken.
Scrambled eggs, eggs over easy. In the end, it's just fried chicken.
Basically.
Right? Pre-chicken, but chicken nonetheless. It would eventually have been a chicken, but it's pre-chicken.
I love the calamari with greens, guys, with the hot peppers too. Oh my god, like that's
what is it? Down in South America, they eat monkey brains right out of a live monkey's head.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. That's one thing you won't get me to do.
You sadistic motherfuckers.
Monkfish is good too. I agree.
Never had monkfish.
What the hell's that other one? Red orange roughy. That's pretty good. My favorite fish probably is rainbow trout or red snapper. Those are my two favorites.
Afraid of meat. Tomboy's afraid of meat for some reason.
Tomboy.
I bet you. Yeah, that tomboy isn't. I don't know. Is that a female or is that a girl? I don't know. Or a guy. I don't know.
That's a girl. That tomboy's a girl. She was up here on the panel with us.
She's not afraid of all meat.
If it's not chicken or red meat, I ain't eating it. Oh well, hell, you're missing out.
I haven't had halibut. I haven't had trout. I haven't had bass. None of the fish that comes out of the
halibut. I don't. Halibut's good. Yeah, halibut's really good.
Halibut, didn't I say I ate that? That's fried fish. That's the fish fry.
Yeah, the halibut. You like that? You said haddock. I thought
haddock is what I said. Yeah,
that one's dry to me. I don't like that. It's flaky. I like the meatier fish, catfish and trout and walleyes. Very good.
Dude, we got catfish down here. The things are giant.
Same here. Same here.
Beyond understanding the size of these. We just did a job right on the lake. And you just walk out in the backyard and look over their dock and they're all over the place, man. You get a net, you could feed the community. Big carp, man.
Yeah, I eat smelts. You never had smelts, Sarge?
No, nor have I had them sardines. Nope.
I've sardines in a can.
Tastes like dirt. That's because catfish eat shit. I ain't having any.
I don't. Here's the difference with catfish. I don't eat catfish that comes out of like a river or a lake. I'll eat them farm raised because they're gross. They're bottom feeders. They eat shit, so I'm not going to eat that.
They eat the remains of whatever. They don't kill live fish. They eat the remains of whatever's there.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Grouper's very good too, Suzanne. You're right.
So, all right. Well, we've covered a wide range of menu items, none of which any of us are going to have anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. We're not cooking for you, though.
And this has been a off the cuff stream, folks. We had no real specific topic to cover, and Dago was nice enough to come up and join us. Right, Dago? Fuck that shit. I booted him out of here before he could think twice about it. I know he was reaching for his fucking mouse. He was in the process of reaching for that mouse, and bam! Sarge pulled the trigger. I know it. I could just sense he was reaching for the mouse. He sensed I was going to close the show, and bam! I got his ass because I'm a quick draw. I should have been a cowboy back in the old West. Oh my God. So look, folks, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing a part of your evening with us. I'm going to get off here, and I've got to contact Dawn and explain myself. So for all of you out there that came in to listen, thank you. And to the rest of you that came in reluctantly or were forced or held at gunpoint or whatever means under which you were, brought to the attention of this room, I just want to say to all of you that be good or be bad, but if you're going to be bad, don't get caught. And in the meantime, folks, I'm out. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you.